Good morning, parents. My name is Ladidra Baker, and I am an OMI math coach, and I will be presenting the math standards for first grade. So my name is Ladidra Baker. I'm an OMI-based math coach at Ariel W. Holloway, and my co-presenter is Miss Kimberly Hardy, and she's an OMI-based math coach at Fondy Elementary, and together we have 29 years of educational experience combined. So our first standard in first grade that our kids would work with is going to be using addition and subtraction to solve word problems within 20 by using concrete objects, drawings, and equations with a symbol for the unknown number to represent the problem. So when you're thinking about this standard and what your child would have to do, you're thinking about different ways and strategies to solve the problem. So your student can use physical objects. In class, they will use Unifix cubes. They may have buttons. They may have beans. And if you're at home, you can use beans, buttons, macaroni, shoes, whatever you have at home that they can actually physically touch and move to help them count. Of course, we know all of our children love drawings. You can have them draw pictures to represent their problems as well as equations. When you think about equations, you're thinking about what they hear in kindergarten, a number sentence. It's going to be those two numbers joined together by either addition or a subtraction sign. So we're going to jump right into this and start with our first type of problem that your student will see in first grade when they're solving. And I know the first thing you're going to say is, my baby can't read that. And they may not be able to read it, but of course, at the beginning of first grade, the teachers will begin reading those problems to them to help them understand the solving of those problems. So our first problem is Asher has 17 toy cars. His grandmother gives him 2 more toy cars. How many toy cars does Asher have now? So I'm going to give you a few moments to solve this problem, and I want you to think as a student, what would you do to solve this problem? You can solve using a picture, and we will have some students who don't have to draw pictures. They're going to just know that answer, and that's okay if they just know the answer. So I'll give you about a minute or so to think about how you would solve that problem. Okay. So the answer that you should have gotten should be 19. In a way, this type of problem is called results unknown. And I want to tell you that type of problem because this is the most common problem that your student will see is a result unknown. It's going to give you a start. It's going to give you that change, what they're adding or what they're taking away. And you're just looking simply for the answer. That is all you're doing. You're just simply looking for the answer when you see a results unknown type of problem. I'm going to give you our next problem type. Then we'll talk about different strategies that you can use to solve all of these problems. So on our second problem, it says Paul had 10 basketballs. He gave some to Caden. Paul has 3 now. How many basketballs did Paul give to Caden? And I'll give you a few minutes to solve this problem. Actually a change unknown subtraction problem where our students are taking away to solve this problem. So these are some strategies that your students will see inside of our math program that we use, which is our HMH into math. And these are strategies that our students use on a daily basis to solve problems. We use a lot of pictures and equations to represent that addition sentence. So a lot of teachers like to give kids 2 crayons or 2 markers to represent those 2 different number values that they'll have. And then they represent those same number values using those equations and those number sentences. So if you see on the top, they have those 4 blue circles and they use that number 4 as well as those 5 green. They use that 5 and that shows that 4 plus 5 equals 9. That's our most common addition strategy that we use. There are a lot of pictures. They start that basis in kindergarten for that foundation and we build on it in first grade. 10 and add more, 10 frames. Our students use 10 frames every day. They use them in kindergarten. They start with that 5 frame, and by the end of the year, they will build on that 10 frame. So they can use a 10 frame to add. That gives them a concrete representation of what they're counting to add. A lot of students use a 10 frame just to make 10. We want them to know automatically that they have 10 fingers. We're working on getting our students not to have to count starting at 10, we should automatically know that they have 10 fingers when they're counting, or if they have a 10 frame, if it is full, it is automatically 10. We also use a lot of doubles facts and doubles plus 1. So you will see where they can do the 4 plus 4 equals 8, and then they have that additional 4 plus 5, which shows our additional 1 that will give us 9. And a few other strategies that we use are subtraction. We use counting back. You can use a number line to count back. You will start at that large number, and then you will count back whatever the change that they have given you to find. So in this example of the 12 minus 3 equals 9, our student will start at 12, and then they will count back using their skips and jumps to get there. You can use your counting on. A lot of students like to add. Subtraction sometimes is scary in first grade, and they like to add. So where they have their 12 minus 9, they would use that 9, and they will count on 3 more spaces to get to 12, and that's how they would check that answer. You can also use adding to subtract. We do teach fact families starting in kindergarten and first grade. So they have that fluency of knowing that if 7 plus 8 is 15, those same 3 numbers should be used in a subtraction sentence. So if 15 minus 7 would equal 8, because we know we're only dealing with those 3 numbers when we're using that addition sentence, that subtraction sentence, excuse me. So with us looking at these new subtraction and addition strategies, on the next 2 slides, you will see 2 more problems. I want you to use a new strategy that you've just learned, whether it's making a number line, counting on, using a 10 frame to solve an additional word problem. So our new problem is Rose had 15 toy dolls. She gave 2 toy dolls to Katie. How many toy dolls did Rose have then? And I'll give you about a minute or so to solve that problem using a new addition strategy that you just learned. So this problem is actually a subtraction problem. She started with 15 and she gave 2 away. This is still a results unknown problem because we're still just trying to find how many did she give away. So your answer should be 13. And if you have a results unknown where they've given you the change, you could start at 2 and you could count up to get 15, and those numbers in between would be your answer. So our next problem is Robin has 13 toy cars. How many more toy cars does Robin have to have 15 altogether? And I'll give you about a minute or so to solve this problem. So the answer to this would be she needed 2 more cars to get 15 altogether. This problem is called a change unknown. You did not know exactly how many more cars she needed. One of the easiest strategies to get to this would use a counting on strategy. Start at 13 and count on till you get to 15. And these are the 2 most common types of problems that you will see in first grade when they are dealing with word problems. These are all 1-step word problems. As the year progresses, they will go to 2-step word problems, but this is the most common that they will start with at the beginning of first grade. So the first quarter standards that they will see and experience in math are going to be addition word problems with what we just went over, counting on to add. So by the time they get to that counting on to add, that strategy will be introduced by their teacher when they're using those word problems. They'll use a lot of multiple addition strategies as far as drawing pictures, 10 frames. I did see someone use a number line. Number lines are very common in first grade that we use. We'll have subtraction with the unknown. That was that second problem type that we use. So your student will have to find what is not given. I know that sounds hard, but with a lot of practice and working with their teacher, I promise you they will be successful with this. We also have the word problems where they'll add 3 numbers, and they'll have true and false equations. And these are what they'll experience during the first quarter standards. And just to give you some tips of things to help your student at home, things that are low cost and things that you can just do at home. By the end of first grade, our students should be able to count to 120 by any given number. Just count daily. When you're having those conversations, you can have your student, can you start at 15 and count to 30? Can you start at 30 and count to 75? I know it seems like a lot, but that's a simple conversation to have with your child, and that's a good way to get that number, fluency, cardinality, and routine that they are learning how to count those numbers and what goes first, what goes second. Also, you can write a number on the index cards. Our lovely reading coaches earlier talked about those index cards, and here's another way that we can use those index cards. You can write a number on the index card. Write that number word. Our students need to be able to identify the number word and the number that it goes with. Also, playing games, playing card games, playing board games with your student is a great family time, a great way to have that conversation, and it's a good way to count. If you're playing Monopoly, your students will see that dice. They'll have to count how many spots they have to move on that board. So you're having fun while you're actually learning as well. Or you can just pull out a dice or a playing card and practice math facts. Our students need to practice addition. You can roll those two, have them count how many. If they're having a hard time, they can count the actual dots to get that fluency answer. And this is the end of my presentation for first grade. Are there any questions that you all have? And thank you so much for your attention and your participation.